Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and let's talk Turkey, trillions, and Trump. Now here's my thing. There's a lot I've criticized Trump for. However, withdrawing troops from the Syrian border is not one of them. Now, does that mean that he took those troops and he's bringing them home? Not that I've seen. But when you have such a push by the mainstream media, by establishment politicians who are hell-bent and bloodthirsty for war, it is refreshing when a president actually tells the truth, okay? And this is kind of a conundrum for me, right? We kind of have this paradox where Trump will say things that are overwhelmingly true, and the mainstream media will distort and ignore them. Yet, the policy, in many cases, in my opinion, doesn't get much better. So I want to go over some of the big new developments regarding Turkey, regarding Syria, regarding puppet politicians, and then Trump's response. We're going to play a good 3-4 minute clip of Trump today at the White House with the Italian president talking to a journalist about giving, Erdogan the green light to go in on two separate occasions. One where he's at a podium, one where he's sitting down. But first, I want to talk about this. House overwhelmingly votes bipartisan condemnation of Trump withdrawal of U.S. troops from Syria. And this is what I have to say to the 354 people in the House that voted to say this. Fuck you. How about that? How about fuck you? Are your sons and daughters in Syria? Are your brothers and sisters in Syria? Are you fighting? Hey, there's 354 more people that want to be on the border in Syria, fighting for our freedom. Get in there. I'm encouraging you. Get out there. Please. If you want to fight so bad, go. And here's the thing. When we talk about Trump and we talk about some of the truths he tells, one of the things that he said, and we're going to go over, was that those release of ISIS fighters that were on video, remember, it was predicted by the mainstream media, and then lo and behold, we've got video of ISIS fighters escaping prison. We can't get video of Epstein's prison cell. I mean, we can't get video that actually would help us, but we sure have video that helps the war machine. And Trump actually discussed that in the same manner that I do. Again, it's hard for me not to give the man props when he tells the truth. But here's the deal. We also have to look at this. Turkey effectively holding 50 U.S. nuclear bombs hostage at airbase amid Syria invasion. So now the fear is going to be that this thing could turn into some kind of a nuclear event. That's the next push of fear, okay? Which is extremely disturbing, and I do believe it will be the next card that the mainstream media plays against Trump after seeing this report from The Independent. One of the lower reported things is that U.S. has moved 50 ISIS fighters from Syria to Iraq amid Turkish assault. Now here's the question, and it's a good one. What's being done with these people? Why is it only 50? And, Syrian girl, partisan girl, Mimi, she had a great tweet, are these intel assets? And Patrick Henningsen of 21st Century Wire said, well, maybe they're going to become assets. Maybe they will be sheep-dipped. I don't know. But Trump, I feel like he mentioned them in the clip we're about to talk about, which is important because you look at a guy like al-Baghdadi, the ISIS leader, and he's a guy that was in Guantanamo Bay. He's a guy that was being held by Israelis. How did he get out and then all of a sudden he's behind this terrorist group, ISIS? So, like I said, we give props where props are due, and I'm just going to play this clip and pause it along the way and make commentary.
Bottom line with Turkey, are you okay with Erdogan saying that he is not going to do a ceasefire?
He didn't say that at all. He's meeting, and he's meeting today with some of our representatives. Mike Pence is leaving today, as you know. We needed to take an extra day for security reasons. But Mike is leaving. Mike Pompeo will be meeting also, who's here right now with us, and he's going to be joining the meeting.
And by the way, Pompeo, very dangerous. You know, if he's going to be going out there and we've got 50 ISIS fighters, listen, I don't trust Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, a man that bragged while he was the head of the CIA. We lied, we cheated, we stole. There were entire courses on it. And then, you know, the sheep in the audience clap and laugh like it's a comedy. No, it's a tragedy.
We have a lot of great people over there, we'll see. In the meantime, our soldiers are not in harm's way, as they shouldn't be, as two countries fight over land. That has nothing to do with us.
Nothing to do with us.
And the Kurds are much safer right now, but the Kurds know how to fight. And as I said, they're not angels. They're not angels. If you take a look, you have to go back and take a look. But they fought with us. We paid a lot of money for them to fight with us, and that's okay.
And, you know, again, talking points of the left are that they're our greatest allies because they fought ISIS alongside of us. And he admits that they fought alongside of us. But remember, in Syria, it wasn't about fighting ISIS, was it? No. It was about regime change. It was about taking out Assad. If you want to talk about an entity that actually also fought ISIS, it would be the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Does the left or the mainstream or establishment politicians consider the Iranian Revolutionary Guard to be our allies? That's something you will never hear because the bloodthirsty warmongers, the neocons, the neoliberals, and the military-industrial complex desperately wants war in that area.
They did well when they fought with us. They didn't do so well when they didn't fight with us. When I refused to allow the Americans a year and a half ago to fight with the Kurds against Iraq, I said, wait a minute, this country stupidly just spent a fortune on fighting for, with, around Iraq. Nobody knows how they spent it.
And here's the key. Nobody knows how they spent it. And he's going to start talking about the trillions of dollars that we have wasted in the Middle East, that have been used to butcher people, imprison people, torture people.
But they spent, actually, we're in the Middle East now for $8 trillion, if you can believe that stupidity.
8 trill.
But in Iraq, we're in for probably $5.5 trillion. So they're telling me, wait a minute, we just spent $5.5 trillion fighting in Iraq and with Iraq, and now we're supposed to spend money to fight with the Kurds against Iraq. I said, no, thank you. So what happens is when I said we're not going to fight with the Kurds left. They didn't want to fight against Iraq, which right now isn't the greatest fighting force in the world. That happened twice. The Kurds actually are pulling back substantially from Turkey, and Syria is pulling in. Syria probably will have a partner of Russia, whoever they may have. I wish them all a lot of luck. You know, Russia was involved in Afghanistan. It used to be called the Soviet Union. Now it's called Russia for a reason.
And right here, he's going to point out how Russia had to downsize. And why was that? Well, it was a guy named Zbigniew Brzezinski that actually helped start that conflict, that actually helped arm those Afghanis. Muslim Brotherhood, anybody? Mujahideen? Huh? Osama bin Laden, our asset? The Pakistani ISI? And again, Brzezinski bragged about this. In fact, Peter Dale Scott, who I'm going to be having on next week, talked about this, and I think it's just such an important thing to really focus on, that we're constantly doing this through our covert agencies, okay, through funding rebel groups.
Because they lost so much money in Afghanistan that they had to downsize, a very big downsizing. So if Russia wants to get involved with Syria, that's really up to them. They have a problem with Turkey. They have a problem at a border. It's not our border. We shouldn't be losing lives over it. But again, we only had 28 soldiers. It was 26, 28. I got all different numbers. It ends up being 28. Between the 26, 28, 2 people, and they're fully accounted for. So that's the story. It's very simple. And we're watching and we're negotiating and we're trying to get Turkey to do the right thing because we'd like to stop wars regardless, whether Americans are in or whether they're not in. We want to see wars stop. That's a very important thing. On a humanitarian basis, we want to see that happen. Steve?
How confident are you that Mike Pence will be able to arrange a ceasefire?
Why don't you go and
Yes,
dictate? Yes, please.
the answer was
I'll
no,
give
not
it.
at all. Scusi, sto parlando. Stiamo negoziando assolutamente e infatti gli investimenti adesso sarà.
So I'm not sure if it was in a separate clip or not, whether or not he mentioned those 50 fighters. I may have been mistaken. I'm going to have to hunt that out. But again, I want to see all wars stopped. I think it's important. And here, you know, Trump is number one on this. You know, you have this guy from ABC trying to present a false narrative, and he takes him to task. So bravo, Mr. Trump.
Up on what your comments on Turkey and Syria.
Sure.
Even after all you have seen, ISIS prisoners freed, all the humanitarian disaster, you don't have any regret for giving Erdogan the green light to invade?
I didn't give him a green light.
Well, did you tell him?
That's
Did
the
you
same
defy
thing
him?
as you
just, when you make a statement like that, it's so deceptive. Just the opposite of a green light. First of all, we had virtually no soldiers there. They were mostly gone. Just a tiny little group. And they would have been in harm's way. You have a massive army on the other side of the border. But more importantly, I didn't give them a green light. And if anybody saw the letter, which can be released very easily if you'd like, I could certainly release it. But I wrote a letter right after that conversation, a very powerful letter. There was never given a green light. They've been wanting to do that for years, and frankly, they've been fighting for many, many years. And when you ask a question like that, it's very deceptive, John. It's almost as deceptive as you showing all of the bombings taking place in Syria, and it turned out that the bombing that you showed on television took place in Kentucky. So, and I'm not even sure that ABC apologized for that, but certainly it was a terrible thing. I'm looking at this, I say, wow, that's pretty bad. And it was in Kentucky, it wasn't in Syria, so I don't know what you're going to do about that, but I think ABC owes an apology.
A big one. And I want to point out how effective, this ISIS propaganda has been. This is a Hollywood actor, okay? And he's in, I believe it was one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Now, if you read this article, he's begging to come home. He volunteered for the military. Why? Because that propaganda worked so good on him. You see, when he saw the beheading video of James Foley, let me read it to you. The reason I went to Syria in the first place is because I love America. When I saw Jihadi John behead American journalist James Foley, I had to act. I couldn't sit back and do nothing. That's how effective those videos are. And remember, some of those videos are really in question. Nobody wants to talk about that video that was supposedly, it's never been debunked. We'll do it live. Of a supposed, and again, I'm not saying this is real. I'm just saying it's never been debunked. Leaked McCain staffer video. ISIS. Okay? Let's see if we can get it on video here in videos. It's right here. All right? Now remember, never debunked on LiveLeak. I want you to take a good look at this setup. Remember, this guy said that he joined because of the Jihadi John video and James Foley. Okay? Now, I want you to look at something here. You take a look at this. Okay? You take a look at this right here. And you got to wonder. We're going to take this off. But you got to wonder. We got a strap here. We got a knife here. We got a bald man here down there. Okay? We got a man here. We got a strap here. We got a bald man in an orange suit here. Now, did someone just fake this? Huh? Did someone decide, hey, I need to fake this because I want to stop the wars? It's possible. You could have shot this anywhere. You could have got 6 or 7 people together and say, hey, we want to fake a fake beheading video. Or this is the real deal. This is the propaganda we're being sold. Okay? So again, I don't know for sure. But you look at this thing, see? Strap here, strap there. Very similar video. Very similar video. I'm not saying they're the same video. I'm not saying that one's valid. But I am saying that this actor, one way or another, okay, he joined the military because of propaganda like that. And let me tell you something. He almost gave his life. See that? That's him. That's an IED. 5 feet away. Blowing up this entire street. Let's say 10 feet away. Does anyone care? Does anyone report on this stuff? No, they don't. And it's tragic. So, I give Trump props where props are due. I may not agree with him all the time, but I thought he killed it at those press conferences. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments, guys. I'm doing it 3 to 7 times a day on many a subject. We just interviewed Derek Brose of the Conscious Resistance, who's running for mayor in Houston. Please go support him right now. We covered how there are now many Australian politicians coming out in defense of Assange, saying they do not want him extradited to the United States, that what he did was heroic, and that we need to protect him. But that's being ignored in the United States media because he's a cyber terrorist here. Whoopi Goldberg says he hurt people. Really makes me sick. Oh, and while the mainstream media, I saw one story in the United States, NBC News covered it. After I covered this, someone pointed out that there at least was one story in the United States that the largest pedo ring ever has been busted. And it contained over 250,000 videos that were being exchanged. 250,000 videos of child abuse that were being exchanged. Some very disturbing details that I went over this website. 300 plus arrests so far globally. Why isn't that front page everywhere? Why isn't that something we're talking about? So guys, if you enjoy my work, I do it for free. You can see all my documentary films right here in the playlist section. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. And like I said, I give it all away for free. I want you to share it. If you want to support me financially, I need your help. This is how I'm doing it. I should be halfway right now. It's the 16th. We should be at 2,500. We're not. I understand why. It's tough out there. But if you can, $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. Because, guys, it's never been about left or right, conservative or liberal. It's always about right and wrong and the truth, no matter where it leads. I love you guys, and I will see you on the flip side.